welcome everybody to this great, another great webinar of Global Business and Alliances Committee. And my name is Tai Hong Nguyen. I'm the Vice Chair of the committee from Virginia, Northern Virginia, and Washington, D.C. metro area. It's my great honor to be your host today. Our chair, Claire Cullen, is unfortunately not available today to welcome you due to a personal commitment, but please do know that she is more than excited to hear the report that so many of you are here, and what a great turnout that it will be, and a great webinar it's going to be. So I'm going to just jump straight in. There is a Q&A box that you can type in your question later, and for us to answer, for the panelists to answer later. Just feel free to type in there. And this webinar today, in addition to the great presenter that we have scheduled for today, the committee, the Global Business Alliances Committee, has a few exciting announcements to make. So first of all, we are very excited to announce that the campaign, That's Who We Are, national ad campaign, has been translated into 5 different languages. And now we have over 100 assets out for our global members to utilize Photofy to share messages with countless potential clients in America and across the globe. So I know the last webinar we only mentioned the Photofy. If you have not downloaded it, it is a great time to do that. And you can utilize the different languages that are available on there. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know. We'd be more than happy to help you with that. And the second thing is NAR just released information of the first ever virtual annual meeting. Well, it's coming up in November, the first 2 weeks in November as usual, but it's going to be virtual. Now, right now, the registration is not available until September the 16th, but you can be prepared right now to see the full schedule of the events, and to register, just go to conference.realtor. Make sure you do that today. Go there and check out, block out your time, so that you can register later and participate. Conference.realtor. Right. Last but not least, just to give you a heads up of what's coming up next, our committee, the Global Business and Alliances, the committee, will be holding another exciting webinar in October. Now, I know that today will be to be really, really great, and a lot of information that come to you. In October, we have another one with a whole lot more information as well. We're trying to up our game as we go. So the sky is the limit. But we'll be focusing on a different issue than today. In October, we're gonna focus on the issue that gets a lot of attention lately, visa issue, right? We'll be exploring what the impact of visa reduction has on the United States real estate markets. So that's up and coming. Now let's get into the program. We have a very esteemed panel with us today to talk about a topic that on pretty much the tip of everybody's tongue right now, Proptech. Now, it's a few years ago, Proptech, we pretty much have to Google it and find out what Proptech means, right? But nowadays, everybody knows about it. And today we're gonna dive straight in, and with very, very exciting and informative and knowledgeable panelists that you can hear about. Well, in the past 10 years, this term came up like so often, particularly in our industry. And we have all knowingly and unknowingly adopted this technology into our business. With the emergence of COVID-19 global pandemic, Proptech is no longer a trend that we see on the horizon or only used in our work as global practitioners anymore. But it is a necessity for us to transact business, regardless of the nature of the deal. All right, today we are lucky to have NAR Reach, the global leaders of Proptech space, to discuss the Proptech trends around the world, as well as how NAR is leading the way in adopting this technology to assist our members, ensuring that they will also be the center of the transaction. Well, with us today, we have Dave Garland, the Vice President of Second Century Ventures and Reach. We have Tyler Thompson, the Vice President of Second Century Venture and Reach as well. Shelley Trung, Managing Partner, Reach Asia Pacific. Lynette Kyoski, Managing Partner, Reach Canada. We have Natasha Terenova, Director of Reach UK. Well, without further ado, Dave and Tyler, thanks for being here with us today, and please take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Ty, and a big thanks to the GBA committee for everybody's time. And also thank you to the NAR team, Charlie Lawson, Joe Schneider, and Ashley for facilitating this. It's really an honor to be here. As Ty has mentioned, I'm Dave Garland, and I'm the Vice President of Strategic Investments for NAR and the Managing Partner of Second Century Ventures and Reach. And with me is Tyler Thompson, who is my trusted partner. We played Rochambeau, rock, paper, scissors beforehand, and looks like I lost. So I'll be doing the majority of the speaking this morning, introducing our illustrious team that's spread around the world globally. And my intent is to really give you all a overview of our NAR investments through Second Century Ventures and our Reach program, and to dive a bit deeper into some of the property technology themes that we're seeing around the world. And hopefully we can get the slides all coordinated. So I'll ask Ashley Stinton to help me out and transfer to the next slide. Thank you. To get things started, I want to start with a quote from Bob Goldberg on innovation and investment. And really, it should be no surprise to anybody on this call that NAR has been exploring technological innovations that serve to enhance the consumer experience and really provide tools to the realtor in order to remain central to the transaction. And really during this global pandemic that we're experiencing, we feel that these investments are now more important than ever. Next slide, please. One vehicle for strategic investment that NAR has maintained for now over a decade is through Second Century Ventures, which is the strategic venture capital arm of the National Association of Realtors. And here we analyze thousands of companies and invest in talented entrepreneurs and ideas that really seek to reduce the friction in your daily activities, that really seek to enhance the relationship between you and your consumers, and that hopefully can open up new markets and opportunities to enhance your businesses. One of the goals is to invest in technologies that can span across geographies and market segments, and that really bring you closer to your consumer, which is especially important now during a time of social distancing. So you see on this particular slide technologies such as Notarize, DocuSign, and BombBomb that have really been indispensable tools for realtors around the globe to transact properties at a distance, while organizations such as TrustStamp, Glide, House Canary are providing infrastructure tools to enhance your revenue opportunities and hopefully lower some of your costs. There's a lot of members around the globe that are taking advantage of these tools right now. And if you haven't had the opportunity to look at our portfolio of companies, we urge you and encourage you to go to our websites, which I'll give you access to at the end of my presentation, and other ways to get in touch with us. Next slide, please. As Ty mentioned at the top of the conversation, there's been a lot of money invested into Proptech real technology. And it's important to note that this money, more in the last 10 years, has been incredibly dynamic and accelerating. Over $80 billion just in the last 7 years alone has been poured into our ecosystem, which is roughly 25 times more than there was invested in property technology about 7 years ago. And at Second Century Ventures, we are the most active investor in the space. And we believe that the investments that we make today will help create critical infrastructure for the industry of real estate and the ancillary services that real estate serves for years ahead. One interesting question that we always hear is, what's been your best investment to date? And I think that we would argue that our best strategic investment to date is in Reach. For those of you unfamiliar with Reach, it is an accelerator program that's geared towards startups newer to the industry and organizations starting to gain traction in the real estate space. We currently operate 5 programs across 3 continents right now. Our flagship program is in the US. Our commercial program, Reach Commercial, is geared toward technologies impacting commercial practitioners. And we announced Reach Australia and Southeast Asia in 2019, and the introduction of Reach Canada and Reach UK in 2020. Now, the reason why we're global with our Reach program is that we've learned that the best technologies don't really care about geographic boundaries and are also not found in areas like the US alone. In fact, some of the best technologies span beyond borders and across market segments and industries. So to find the best of the best, we have and are setting up Reach programs in key areas around the globe in order to find these key entrepreneurs. Within this 9-month program, Reach invests in spending time with these entrepreneurs to better hone their products and services to your specific needs. Next slide, please. So how do we do this? Well, we do this through a lot of our strategic partnerships, through our alumni of over 100 portfolio companies through Second Century Ventures and Reach, through mentor and product testing and interaction with members around the globe like you. And we've been highly successful with our program to date. Next slide, please. We've graduated 8 classes and serve realtors around the globe. This is just a sampling of our 8 classes to date that we have graduated. And if we can go to the next slide, please. Today, we have 3 classes of companies currently in session. Our Reach Commercial program, as well as our Reach Australia and Southeast Asia program. And these companies are tackling key problems and opportunities in order to reduce friction in the transaction or provide additional revenue generating opportunities for you. Some of the companies focus on title and escrow inefficiencies. For instance, if you look at Modus within the 2020 Reach program, others focus on home security and access. So those are companies like Kangaroo or Igloo Home out of the Reach Australia program. Others focus on many commercial needs or needs specific to property managers. Those are going to be organizations like Sarah in the 2020 Reach Commercial class. And still others help use new marketplaces in order to drive additional revenue streams. And those will be organizations like RealX in the 2020 Reach program. Slide, please. Reach really wouldn't be successful at all without the participation from members like you. And we really invite you to learn more about our 2020 companies as well as our entire portfolio of companies at narreach.com. Also, we have an incredibly robust social media following and social media channel across LinkedIn and Twitter. We invite you to join us there, to follow us, and there you can see real time our updates and what we are doing across all of our regions around the globe. And we would like to offer for you to take part in our product testing, to be among the first to demo Reach company technologies and really receive special offers as part of our Insight panel, which you can subscribe to and sign up for at narreach.com under the Insight panel link. And at this time, I would like to pass the spotlight over to our global team, and initially with Reach Australia.
Hi, I'm Shelley Chung. I'm the Managing Partner for Reach Australia, and today I'm going to take you through a very short overview of the real estate industry in the Asia Pacific region. So one of the key themes for APAC in general is that it is experiencing a massive amount of change. One of the key areas is that the population itself is actually moving quite extensively from the rural areas all the way to the urban areas. Over the next 30 years, we're expecting roughly 30% of the population to move. It's been coined by the UN as the largest mass migration of people. Most of that is being felt in China, but Australia is certainly one of the key regions experiencing this change, as well as Thailand and Indonesia. So in line with that, the real estate in the region itself is actually experiencing a lot of capital flowing into the region. As you can see from 2019, roughly 20% of the global capital into real estate went into APAC. In 2020, this was sort of early 2020 predictions, it was expected to go to about 30%. So this has obviously changed a little bit with the pandemic. However, the overall trend is really in 2019, we saw really a brand new record in terms of the amount of capital going into the region. One of the key points around this is really that, you know, for price per square feet, this is actually quite a lot of real estate development. So looking more closely to Australia, Australians are really obsessed with real estate, and if you look into the numbers, you can see why that is the case. 1 in 4 Australians are actually directly or indirectly employed into the real estate industry. That's really 13% of the GDP that the real estate sector is responsible for, roughly 2.2 billion. It's larger than the mining industry, the health industry, and the retail sector. And if you account for additional sectors that the real estate industry is responsible for, it does actually go up to about 30%. 1.4 million Australians are actually employed into the real estate sector itself, and most of us have some sort of investment into real estate through our superannuation fund. That's the equivalent of the US 401k. So a couple of the key themes that we're certainly starting to hear from our real estate industry in this particular region. Sustainability is top of mind. Certainly I've been part of quite a few panels where sustainability is the key theme. In line with that, IoT is really helping that sustainability theme. I think that's also the case around the fact that we're very close to the manufacturing heads and the sensors, the availability of the sensors in this particular region. Along with IoT, obviously that's an increased availability of data, and layered on top of that as well is AI and automation. But one of the other key themes really emerging as a result of the pandemic, but was already sort of up and coming, is the lifestyle and wellness industry. That's in line with the increase in population aging as well, but we're certainly seeing these themes be quite top of mind for the real estate sector out here. So looking again more closely to the current situation with the pandemic, I know Australians have experienced a fantastic run of 30 years almost with no recession, but roughly about a week ago, Australians did formally state that we're actually in recession. And, you know, as you can see from the left side, one of the key articles is around the corporate sector itself, the big 4 consulting firms really experiencing quite a bit of operational decline and the need for their services. So quite a bit of their staff have been let go, partner salaries cut. We're seeing that also in the retail sector, obviously, and hospitality. So Reach Australia itself launched its own program late last year in December. We're actually close to wrapping up our 9-month program. And so out of the 6 companies we invested in, they include Oxstrata, which is focused on strata management. Ubi Park is a parking and mobility solution. Igloo Home is an IoT lock. Sorted provides property management services to the residential industry. PAM provides wayfinding for large precincts, and Really is a tendering platform for the commercial real estate sector. So again, looking just a little bit of an idea of the breakdown of the first year's cohort. We are actually in the process of recruiting our second years, but the first year we really had companies quite a wide range in terms of valuation when we really invested in them, from anywhere from $3 million to $50 million plus. And as reflective of the region itself and the kind of real estate assets in sort of APAC, we made an investment in one particular residential company solely focused on the residential sector. 2 of them were focused on the commercial real estate sectors. However, half of the portfolio was actually quite agnostic between the sectors. They were relevant to the residential sector and the commercial real estate sector as well. So that's a quick overview from me. I hope you enjoyed it and learnt a little bit about the APAC region. Thanks, bye.
Well, good morning. I'm Lynette Kyoski, the managing partner for Reach Canada, and I just want to echo Dave's thank yous from earlier to allow us to share a little bit about what we're up to here in Canada to introduce the Reach brand into the further into the North American market. So in true Canadian form, I would be remiss, thank you Ashley for taking that cue, thanks for advancing the slide. I'd be remiss not to quote a great Canadian icon, Wayne Gretzky, when he infamously said, "I skate to where the puck is going to be and not where it has been." And that's really the approach that we're taking here in Canada in terms of expanding the footprint of Reach north of the 49th. So let's look just very quickly at where the puck has been in real estate technology in Canada, and I think really across North America. And for us over the last 20 years, technology has really been in service to the industry. And so we've really viewed the evolution of real estate technology through sort of 3 waves up until 2019. And it was really serving the practitioner and access to the information that the practitioner had. So we've moved from a landscape where technology really served data aggregation, automating property valuations, and then really moving toward automating that real estate transaction. And I think this is where, even up until today, we have seen a lot of the investment in real estate technology is around sort of automating that real estate transaction. And it's really around, as Dave said earlier, enhancing the efficiencies of the practitioner and the efficiencies with which the consumer has access to information. If we think back to, the massive investment in real estate technology over the last couple of years, 10xing the amount of capital that's come into the industry, we really now feel that we're in this sort of age of capital in this next wave, and that capital is really in service to the consumer. And we're seeing that a lot through through the impacts that COVID has brought in terms of how the consumer is really accessing technology to help them in the home buying experience. So what does this mean for the practitioner? Next slide, please, Ashley. So in 2020, despite COVID, we actually saw from a Canadian investment side, a record investment, record venture capital investment in Q2 of 2020, which really means that, the evolution of what's coming to market hasn't slowed down. I think more so what we've seen is sort of a pent-up demand in terms of where that capital is ultimately going to be parked. Next slide, Ashley, please. So from a Canadian perspective, in terms of the real estate market, we've really seen a record number of transactions come to the market in July. And again, that's really reflective, I think, of this pent-up demand in the real estate space. So again, consumers aren't slowing down. People continue to look forward toward moving, but really what they're looking for is a way to facilitate that transaction in a post-COVID environment, or through the COVID environment and then post-COVID environment. So really what we're seeing is kind of this consumer first approach, where a lot of the trends that have already been in market are accelerating. Some of those trends include, you know, that virtual component around AI, virtual open houses. We're seeing enhanced trends or acceleration of trends around the home valuation and appraisal of homes, which are now being completed online, no longer require that in-person component, but still require that human interaction in terms of valuation of homes. And we're also seeing sort of that closing process really accelerate as well. So again, it still requires that human interaction, but it doesn't require the in-person face-to-face piece. So we're seeing a lot of those trends accelerating through COVID, and really focusing on allowing the consumer to continue to engage in that purchase transaction. So around tech adoption, back to you know, our quote by Wayne Gretzky, where is the puck really going? Well, we continue to see venture capital pouring into the real estate sector, and we're seeing it kind of in a number of quadrants that are allowing the consumer to be first in the transaction, and really positioning the real estate practitioner very importantly to continue to be that trusted advisor through the process. Next slide, please, Ashley. So with all of that as a backdrop, what can you expect from Reach Canada in 2020? So in Canada, we are currently in the process of solidifying our first cohort of companies. We're excited about the technology that's come to the table. In terms of the applications and the tech companies that we have had the opportunity to evaluate, over 70% of our applications were made in Canada solutions, meaning that the other 30% have come from other places around the world. And as Dave said earlier, we're really seeing technology come to the table that has this sort of view of technology with no borders. So we're excited to be able to entertain those types of technology that can enhance the transaction and the real estate purchase experience around the globe. We're seeing really 5 subsegments of categories that are being covered, and they all really do focus on sort of this consumer first approach. The 5 subsegments that I think have been most prevalent are, again, continuing to focus on that agent and broker efficiency. So what are the strategies and the solutions that can allow the practitioner to can focus more on their high value activities as opposed to the lower value activities. So again, increasing your efficiencies or reducing your costs. So that's one subsegment. We're also seeing a lot of investment in solutions that are really focused on sort of that back end of the transaction or the closing piece. So financial solutions, really enhancing access for the consumer to financial instruments and tools. We're also seeing an evolution of increasing the availability or the ability for the consumer to get into home ownership. So the evolution of a lot of new home ownership models that are really powered through technology solutions to make that experience a lot more efficient and allow more consumers to enter that home ownership industry. And lastly, we're seeing, you know, a lot of trends around sort of that home concierge model, and how do we encourage kind of the homeowner as a repeat customer throughout the entire spectrum of the real estate transaction, and keeping that practitioner front and center in their world between their home purchase activities. All of these subsegments are extremely exciting for the real estate industry, for the real estate practitioner, because they squarely put the practitioner in the driver's seat in terms of being that trusted advisor and allowing you to really ensure that you are being the not just advisor, but the curator of all of these opportunities and solutions on behalf of your clients to ensure that they are not only able to access home ownership and continue to evolve through that home ownership continuum, but that you are there as their advisor along their home ownership journey. Next slide, please, Ashley. So again, we're excited to bring on our first 10 companies. We plan to kick our program off at the beginning of October. We would love for you to be engaged with our program from anywhere around the world. If you're interested, as Dave said, I want to reissue his invitation. Please follow us on social media. You can sign up for more of what is coming from Reach Canada at narreach.ca. Sign up for our newsletter, sign up to participate in our insights panels, and provide feedback, and really be that influencer and voice that helps guide the evolution of technology for the future. Now, I would love to pass it over to Natasha to hear about their experience in the UK.
Hi, everyone. My name is Natasha Terenova. I'm a program director at Reach UK. Firstly, I want to start with thanking for this opportunity to to be here to talk about the tech landscape in the UK and Europe, and also tell you a little bit more about what we're up to. So domestically, the UK Proptech market is considered hugely lucrative, and it's worth a potential of £6 billion pounds sterling. And it also already receives 10% of global Proptech investment. Typically, the UK, Germany, Spain, and France have emerged as the countries for top investment rounds, with UK is leading the way with the Proptech funding of over $800 million raised so far. We are also a home for over 800 Proptech companies, which is the largest Proptech sector in the region. The number 2 is DACH region, and it's second in place with almost 350 million investment in over 500 companies. I want to make sure that we all know the DACH region is Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. This is closely followed by France, Spain, and the Nordics. And the exciting thing about Team UK is that we have access to all of these technologies, as typically Proptech from continental Europe and Eastern Europe is looking at the UK as the first point of entry to the English-speaking markets. And we are perfectly placed to support their growth in the UK, as well as support their global expansion. There are 3 key trends to look out for the Europe Proptech industry in 2020. And I want to start with sustainability, which you've already heard from a Shelley Trang presentation, because I think in our region, it's one of the trends that is impacting all of the technology trends that I will be talking about. And for us, sustainability is a term that rests on 3 pillars. It's economic, environmental, and social. There are a host of exciting technologies that are addressing environmental issues posed by climate change. And when we're talking about the social component, then we're covering all of the issues associated with diversity, inclusion, and equality. And I believe that in the UK, we are leading the way with major investors and private equity, weaving in the ESG and sustainability in their daily operations. And this is mainly driven by the continued consumer pressure, both in B2B and B2C, as well as mounting government legislation aimed at controlling the environmental impact of the industries. Another major trend that I wanted to talk about is prefabricated buildings or modular construction. Here, this is driven by the new technologies and materials which are emerging in order to improve design capabilities to allow high-speed design of and delivery of quality, affordable, and sustainable homes. And finally, COVID-19 has accelerated a number of other trends, like, for example, a touchless solutions. Here we're talking about keyless access and remote viewings and cybersecurity, lone worker safety, heating, ventilation and air conditioning. And there are a spectrum of technologies allowing remote building management, which are powered by artificial intelligence and machine learning. I found that very interesting that Ty in the very beginning said about the Google searches on Proptech, and I thought that I'm going to share this interesting fact with you that actually in Europe, we see the number of Google searches has an annual compound growth rate of 85%. That clearly signifies of the continued interest in the industry. And it's also very much in line with the media attention the Proptechs are getting. To summarize, I just wanted to say that despite all of the exciting things happening in the industry, the Proptech in Europe is still relatively young. And out of the total of 3,000 companies, 85% of them are still at the seed stage. And this presents us with this great opportunity to support this new wave of innovation with creating a truly, genuinely useful solutions that would impact consumer experience. So since we are the youngest addition to the global expansion of Reach, I thought we'll give you a sneaky preview at the European Proptech. I think the slides are going ahead of me a little bit. Ashley, could you return it back, please? Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I thought I'll give you a sneaky preview on what ecosystem, of what startup ecosystem we're dealing with here and how this impacts the property industry in the UK as a whole. As I mentioned, the COVID crisis has forced UK property industry to change the way it operates. The estate agents had to adapt to respond quickly to this unprecedented times, and they face challenges of that traditional way of face-to-face methods of conducting the business is no longer possible, or sometimes just getting impractical with all of the regulations associated with the health crisis. And the trouble that the lockdown has created in the UK property sector is that it's forced most of the agencies into a holding pattern, and it also has resulted in significant cuts in the industry. This, combined with a post-lockdown surge in demand, is placing considerable pressure on the sector. And even before the pandemic, property professionals were under the gun due to rising consumer expectations and tightening regulations. So we in the UK work very closely with the bilateral partner of National Association of Realtors. It's National Association of Estate Agents, Propertymark. And we've done a lot of work in defining what type of technologies and main themes of PropTech startups, which are based on the value chain functionality. And what I want you to think about here, that these themes are not standalone. And what Reach has been absolutely brilliant at is at creating collaboration opportunities for all these different technology providers. And we saw some absolutely great partnership coming out of the global portfolio that ultimately create the better user experience and create better value for money when you subscribe to a certain technology. Ashley, can you please move on to the next slide? So what to expect for Program Reach UK? We are currently in full swing mode in selecting companies. We've opened our application to the startups back in July 31st. We are still having 3.5 weeks to go. I think my math is right. We are going to close applications on September 30th, and we're looking to announce our cohort in November 2020. With the program to be kicked off in 2021. It will last for full 8 months until October 2021, when we are planning our graduation of our first inaugural class. As I mentioned, we partner of a National Association of Estate Agents in the UK, and all of the team members in the UK are members of UKPA, which is the UK Property Association, and we're also a member of Tech London Advocates, as well as Green Building Syndicates. Here, I also wanted to echo what Dave said. Our doors are wide open for collaboration and partnership opportunities, and we really do want to connect with you to make sure that our cohort is on the right track to deliver the solutions that are right for you. So please connect with us. The emails are on the screen, especially if you're located in the UK and Europe. Our class will need you. Thank you.
All right. Well, that was a whole lot of information. That's really good. It's really blown my mind. By the way, I participated in the evaluation of the NAR Reach program, and that's really good. So I encourage anybody who interested, please feel free to sign up for it. We all, please correct me if I'm wrong, we all need people to sign up to test and to give testimonial to the program, right?
I think that's if you want to be involved in the Insight panel, you can again sign up for the Insight panel at narreach.com. And an additional thing that I will add, and this hopefully will answer one of the open questions in the Q&A forum, if you are aware of any technologies that are pertinent in your geographic location that either you or your agents or brokers or other teams are using successfully, or you think that could have a very strong impact within the real estate industry, please let us know. Please reach out to us at hello@secondcenturyventures.com or through our contact page at narreach.com. We are always open to learning about new technologies. We try to see everybody, but we are only as big as and as strong as the network, and we really rely on the members to help us understand what's coming down the pipeline. So please feel free to introduce us to strong entrepreneurs in your various.
All right, so another question that we have here, and I'm going to kick this to Natasha, since you guys have done a great job in the UK, but how do you work with NAR's partner associations to kind of bring more awareness to the REACH programs?
Thanks, Joe. That's actually a great question. And one of the things that I'm incredibly proud of is that relationship we built here on the ground with the bilateral partner of NAR, which is National Association of Estate Agents. We've been collaborating pretty much since we've started operating in the UK, and we were announced on the 9th of March. Mark Haywood has been instrumental in helping us understand the landscape and what type of technologies the estate agents, as they call in the UK, potato, and okay, of course, realty is a completely different term. We're all aware of that. But yes, this relationship help us. The bilateral partnerships that NAR has, and if I'm not mistaken, it's over 185 countries, and this relationship and this reach we will be massively relying on in helping drive the technology adoption within the markets in the UK, or if and when relevant for our cohort, hopefully in Europe as well.
Great, thank you.
So that probably, Natasha, just answer the question that Dan has, that if you're considering expanding to Eastern Europe.
So at the moment, of course, since we were concentrated on the UK as the main market, and one of the things that we want to see in our class, that when they apply to Reach UK, that UK is going to be their primary market of entry. But if it would benefit our class, we would of course reach out to the bilateral partners of NAR in other territories and try to replicate the successful relationship we have with the NAA property mark. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. Okay, so this is kind of a question for everybody here, for the whole REACH team. How much of your effort is going to sustainable or social development initiatives? And then there was a question earlier regarding fintech. Do you look at kind of all the different industries that kind of relate to real estate agents around the world? Or are you really sticking to kind of core companies that are focused, what we would call traditional Proptech?
Yeah, Joe, let me take the kind of the second question first. We look at not only the real estate vertical, but also kind of the complementary verticals. So insurance, mortgage, title, settlement services, certainly kind of the broader financial side of things. And we've got companies, Dave mentioned earlier in his presentation, that we really like technologies that not only travel across borders, but all across industry segments as well. So we see a broad range of technologies from other verticals. We participate in the events and in conversations taking place in those verticals. So certainly all of those things work together to make real estate better. So we're certainly interested in those verticals as well. Dave, do you want to take the sustainability and the social aspect of what we look at?
Yeah, it's a very important part. And actually, I would love to pass the mic over to Natasha, who's leading up a lot of our sustainability and ESG policies. I know, Natasha, you've mentioned a little bit on the ESG side. Would you mind going into a little bit more detail as to, number one, what ESG is? Because especially for practitioners in the US, it's a relatively new term, but it's a term that has been used throughout Europe and Southeast Asia for many years now. And talk a little bit about what we're looking at as far as the lens of evaluating these opportunities when it comes to environmental sustainability, social justice.
Thank you, Dave. I think, let me phrase this better. So I hope to attempt this question with a bit more thoughts than I rushed into the first one. So actually, my personal background is clean tech. So I ran the business in electric vehicle deployment into commercial fleet. So ESG was always of utmost importance to me, and that's my massive driver. So just to simplify this, ESG stands for environmental, societal, and governance. And these are the three things that are driving the industry and the operations of major companies in the UK. I think what we are trying to achieve here is that, quite honestly, when I've just started with Proptech and sustainability, it took me a while to sort of connect the two, but we now know that the property sector it can be considered and is actually named by a few influential speakers as a horror show of sustainability. And we are looking at one of the most energy inefficient, at energy efficiency in terms of consumption. I think the property sector is credited to consume 40% of the global energy, and it was also credited for the most greenhouse gas emissions because of the inefficient energy use. So that would be one of the key areas that we're actually also looking at in the mix of the technologies that I've briefly touched upon. One of the key things for us in the UK, as I mentioned, is not only in the UK, but actually, as Dave said, on a global basis. So I'm sorry for sort of tagging the GV onto my side all the time. So for us, it's of utmost importance is to create an environment which is inclusive and that has diversity. And in our example here, again, locally, there's a huge gap in, for example, female or diversity founders. So we want to create this culture of attracting the right type of talent and attracting the right type of startups to, just to start this meaningful relationship with us and help them to drive their technology and to help them scale up. In terms of what we do as a company and how we deploying this on the regional and the global level is we actually, and this is again a sneaky preview, so we've included the sustainability section in our application form. We didn't want to overwhelm the applicants with a lot of information, so we made it optional, but I can tell you now that 100% of our applicants are actually filling this in, and there's going to be a lot of interesting insights coming out at the end of our application. We are incorporating the ESG elements throughout our curriculum and the program, and we have exciting third parties, which are also potential customers for our cohort, to come to speak to the cohort how important some of these initiatives are and what sort of technologies they are looking for to address this. I think I may have covered this question too.
Great answer, Natasha. Looks like we have time for two more questions here. what we'll start, and Lynette, we'll kick this to you, and you kind of discussed it a little bit in your presentation, but how has COVID-19 situation affected the real estate industry in Canada, since there's always a huge difference in physically going over to the place and seeing the real estate property while we sit at home and check the real estate property?
Yeah, I think, thank you, Joe. I think really from a Canadian perspective, there's really sort of two approaches to this. Again, just as I said earlier, what we're really seeing is an acceleration of some of those trends in terms of how technology is helping facilitate the social distancing component for those people who are choosing to continue to remain socially distanced. I think from a Canadian perspective, in the context of COVID globally, we're actually doing relatively well. Real estate was retained as an essential service, and so provisions were put in place for agents to continue to perform their role in either an in-person capacity or in a socially distanced capacity, you know, really from the get-go right throughout COVID. And so for those consumers who choose to continue to experience their real estate transaction in a traditional in-person way, they're able to do that. And most real estate agents have evolved to providing safety measures. Having said that, there are a number of consumers who are choosing to continue to stay socially distanced, but want to purchase new property. And so this is where we're seeing really that evolution of advanced virtual open houses, advanced AI solutions that are really enabling that transaction as well. So I think from a Canadian perspective, it's really about optionality. And I think we will see the industry evolve in a little bit of a different format. So the pendulum may not swing all the way back to in-person because again, the consumer is getting a taste of what it looks like to purchase property without being physically present.
Great, thanks, Lynette. And last question, and this is kind of the million-dollar question here, because for the REACH and SCV team, our partners around the world, as well as our global ambassadors and our global business councils in the US, they get so fired up when it comes to global real estate. And we're constantly getting inundated. And I know for a lot of our REACH counterparts, my team and I forward you a lot of companies to kind of research and do your due diligence on. But how do you guys want to go about finding these local companies, from either our partner associations or our global ambassadors or our US contacts here? What's the easiest way for you guys to kind of, kick the tires a little bit on these new and upcoming companies?
Joe, let me handle this, and I apologize if my internet connection is a little bit shaky, but like all realtors, there is no better compliment than a referral. So if you refer technology to us, it is our job to analyze the potential impact of that technology, both at the local level as well as across geographies and other segments. So our job is to meet these entrepreneurs, to learn about what it is that they're doing, and to help them, if they're ready, to bridge out to the entire real estate ecosystem globally. So the best way to get those entrepreneurs in front of us, make a referral. We are here, we're ready, we're able, and we're willing to understand what it is they're doing and help them expand their businesses globally.
Perfect. Thank you, Dave. And Ty, I'm going to kick it over to you to close. This being a global meeting, I think this is a first and almost a miracle that we end on time. So, Ty, why don't you take us home?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much, REACH team. You guys are awesome and phenomenal. I mean, I don't know, but I feel like so dumb after listening to you all. You all are so brilliant, and I really appreciate you sharing all the knowledge and the expertise on the field. It just blow my mind. I'm sure it does that to a lot of our members here. And this amazing session obviously cannot be accomplished without the very, very hard work behind the scene by our NAR staff. So thank you so much for your help. The NAR staff put it all together for us and members, right? And thank you everyone for being here again. And we are so looking forward to seeing you, next session in October. keep an eye for Joe's email or communication, and definitely it's going to be another exciting session as well.